Welcome to the Accomplish Impact Podcast, a space where we explore what it truly means to accomplish in life with a focus on purpose-driven leadership. We'll be releasing new episodes every other Tuesdays at 6 a.m, so be sure to subscribe and join us as we uncover the aspiring journeys of leaders who are making an impact. In each episode, we sit down with visionary business leaders who are not only achieving remarkable success, but doing so with a deep sense of meaning and impact. I'm your host, Benjamin, and in today's episode, we're joined by Rosemary Tan, Director of HR at Tungling Group. Welcome to the show, Rosemary.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ben.
So, Rosemary, for those who perhaps don't know who you are, maybe you can just give us a brief introduction of what you do and who you are.
So I'm Rosemary. I'm the eldest of six siblings in my family. And right now, I'm with the family business, Tungling Group, and we're involved in property as well as plantation. And so it's my second term. I call it my second term back with the family. And so I myself have been a property developer. I've done something called Mesra Terrace in Dutamas, which I try to be elderly friendly, environment friendly, child friendly, and I was very grateful for that journey, of which I actually got on the Edge top developer list, the top 30 lah. So I was like at the bottom somewhere in terms of being recognized for the work, especially for creativity. So I'm very glad I had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, wow, that's very impressive. And you've got a big family, and actually what we're talking about today is going to be talking about family businesses. Yeah. So, why do you think this conversation for family businesses is important? Perhaps even for those who are not part of family businesses and maybe they just want to pursue something on their own. Why do you think this conversation is still important?
I guess it's maybe the conversation can be about finding our own identity in our family and then who we are in terms of in the workplace lah. So for me, it's like I say, I was second term back in the family business, right? So when I finished school and I worked in New York for a bit. So I was there for 9 years, and I did the business degree because with the parents' guidance, it says okay, that one is very universal. And you can work anywhere and do anything and at least get job lah. Right. But I actually wanted to do something creative, whether it is architecture, which I wasn't smart enough, I didn't get the grades, or do fine arts. And then the fine arts, the Asian family would say, you cannot earn money lah from that. Yeah. So did the business degree. But when I started working for a Japanese trading company in New York, I was bored to tears. And what I was selling was wood, but I didn't see the product. I was selling wood from Asia to US and Japan, and pine wood, and from American wood, softwood lah. I mean to Asia. So Japan loved the wood, So I was selling wood everywhere, even to Malaysia, Indonesia, from Malaysia and Indonesia. But I never saw the client. I never saw the product, and I was just paper pushing. Meeting orders and things like that. And so if this is work in a corporation, it didn't challenge me. So I did night school. And when I did night school, I went for the most creative things I can find, which was interior design. That was available near my office. So I did that. And then my first semester already, the professor said, you have a talent for this. Why don't you go for the degree? So I did. And she helped me put together my portfolio, and I got into Parsons School of Design in New York, which I didn't realize was pretty famous then, one of the top design schools in New York. So when I finished, my dad said, wow, you're useful after all, come home now, because the family was in property development. But it was what they call age crisis, and then so I didn't get into the family business immediately. So when I came home, I took over my auntie's trading company and did gift trading. So in that sense, it is timing, opportunity, and all that. Although the plan was to come back and join the family, but nothing was happening in the family operations. So I had the opportunity to try my own things. one of which was the gift trading led me to become a licensee for WWF. So that's where I learned, although I learned about environment friendly in US, passion for excellence, was what we learned then. And with the experience that I had, took me back to the development, which I wanted to do environmentally friendly, or now you call it sustainable development. So I tried to practice that. So in the family business, when I got back in, was because of the US dollar. So there was a currency crisis of which the Malaysian ringgit, 250 to $1 became 5 and then settled at 480. So my trading company, whatever we sell also will be a loss situation. So I had to heartbrokenly close it and join the family at that point in time.
Yeah, I think when you talk about joining the family, what was it like? Because you were, in a sense, quite independent. It seems like you wanted to chart your own path and do what, in a creative space. You wanted to build something of your own that perhaps was a bit different from being a part of the family company. And how was that like? How do you feel?
Big learning curve. Big learning curve. When you go back in, it's part of an established organization with people already doing their bit, and then so I always thought that being the so-called daughter, right, they can't say very much, so but I try not to be like what you call 小姐啦, right. So I have to pull my weight and do my bit. But my passion in creating something that was meaningful in terms of design and developing something that was more family oriented or accessible or environment friendly, right? So that was what I wanted to chart within the family organization. So whatever I came up with, the design and ideas were not easily accepted. Okay, so I had to learn to justify. And then when it comes to cost, of which is my weakness, right? So because I don't know the business yet, so he says, wow, it takes so much more expensive to build something that is accessible, right? Energy saving. Like, how do you do that? Solar panels then wasn't even in yet. It wasn't in the vocabulary. You don't see it in the market, right? So in that sense, it was breaking ground. And when it comes to reality, practical things, it was too expensive to build and sell. So the project is not viable. But at that point in time, when I wanted to push my idea, it's like pushing something uphill and accepting that, okay, it's not needed or viable, or people don't want to buy, people don't know, because it's so new, right? Will it be accepted? So the company cannot risk something like that. So those were the frustrations I dealt with in the beginning. And of course, I didn't know how to regulate myself, so I always got frustrated, right? So trying to be myself in a family environment of which whatever I did was not accepted was hard. It was very, very hard that first season.
I think definitely I can see you've got a very strong personality, right? And trying to build that personality into the family business is definitely not easy. But I mean, eventually there was change, right? Wasn't there? How were you able to, whether it's educate or even convince your family that, hey, these sustainable projects or the projects that you were passionate about were indeed, valuable to the company, even though perhaps maybe the cost wasn't that great initially. But how do you then show your family business that, hey, that what ideas I have are still valuable and you should listen to me?
It was what I call my first, step of big lesson, a big lesson where I was actually angry. So if I look backwards, it's like I was the rebellious one, trying to convince, but then I thought I had a good relationship with the people that I worked with. I think I was a good learner. I learned fast, right? But still, I couldn't get through the management, getting buy-in from everybody. So I think if I look backwards, I dishonored my family lah, because I rebelled, I was angry, and actually walked away. And the walking away was, yes, in that sense, character-wise, right? Didn't learn patience, didn't learn yet all those good values yet. So I had to do it on my own. I had to learn to do the business on my own. So what happened is, leaving the family, there was this 6 months of my walkabout, trying to figure out what to do next, right? And it was then where Dana Harta was, had a lot of properties that was, it was another economic crisis that Malaysia was going through. So it was my dad who reached out to me and says, okay, you want to try something on your own? So he gave me some pointers. So Dana Harta had a lot of properties that you can go and get that was, on a cheaper, whatever, in KL, abandoned land and things like that. So he taught me to go and get a loan and find a piece that was small enough for me to try, experiment. So I did. I found a 4-acre piece in Segambut, and now it's called Dutamas. Got the consultant team going, and actually found an architect that understood what I wanted. I was so happy.
Which was rare during that time, right? Because nobody knew about sustainability.
And their name was Environmental Design Practice. So it was Chua and Lipen who journeyed with me through the development. It was tough, but it was also good because it was exciting for me. Went to the Malbecs or the Archidecs, finding heat reclaimed hot water system. I wanted a lift already immediately, but nobody had a home lift at that point in time. So I had to work with MS Elevator to say, can you create a lift for a home without the lift, where you have to take a whole roof just to put in the machinery. So they created one without all the normal lift requirements. So it was just slower, and it's not hydraulic. It's still a pulley system, but they built everything within the confines of a home and hide it very nicely. So I got the lift company to work with me. I found, heat reclaimed hot water system from air conditioning. And then, of course, with the architects, they said, double layer brick wall for insulation, how to insulate the roof so that the heat doesn't come in very fast. So I learned a lot of things. So that journey of really getting into the nitty-gritty, when I did it on my own, hands down, you have to go down the ground and learn all these things, find out all these things, and specify all these things. And that was, I love that part. I love that putting things together, and when the whole formula kind of clicked, right? And then you started to see it build, and that was the amazing part.
So at this point in time, you left the family business already. Yeah, I see. Okay.
So then I was married. So me and my husband were kind of like journeying together to do this. So it was still a big learning curve. So he had his own IT company, but so he, we still work together in terms of sales and all that. But in terms of creating the development, was me and the consultant team. And I was very blessed. I had good group of consultants that created this Mesra Terrace together with me. So I got it done. So where the inspiration come from is because my mom was a paraplegic. And so she taught me about, even as a paraplegic, her dream was to live in a house like normal people, to have a master bedroom upstairs that she can reach. And she would put a hydraulic, like a factory hydraulic lift in her house so that she can go upstairs to the master bedroom. So that stuck in my head. So the homes I built was for 3 generations because grandma took care of me. And the neighborhood I grew up with is Gumwood. It was the kids running out, on the street in front of our houses. We would play together. So very community. So I tried to recreate that in Mesra Terrace. So that was the inspiration behind me wanting to do accessible homes, and one for old, the elderly as well as for the children that was safe. So my development had this nice courtyard, traffic free, so safe for the kids. And everywhere the wheelchair can go. And the bathhouse had a lift. The homes with the 4-story had a lift. Yeah, so anybody that is, let's say, grandparents who have physical challenges are still able to live. And it had 2 master bedrooms. So grandparents who live with the family can still have a room that is, honorable and sizable for them.
Yeah, I think maybe just going back a little bit, talking about, when you started this business, it's not, you didn't really, in a sense, you went out on your own, but you also still got a lot of help from your dad, right? You said
So I had to take my own loan.
Okay.
All he did was he guided me to where to get where to get the land, right? Then everything else was on my own.
But I mean, you did mention that you walked out, in a sense, with a bit of anger. But why do you think, your dad still helped you, guide you, or why do you even listen to his guidance?
Okay. Yeah. Because he basically challenged me. So you want to try it? Okay. So this is the way you can try it. And he explained why he felt safe. As a father, he wants to protect us, right? So instead of coming and coddle me and say, okay, this is how you do it, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, I give you X amount. No, he didn't. So what I had was, he always teaches to invest in property, of which, increment in value. And that's where you can create your base foundation financially to invest in other things. And then you can take loans, right? So as long as I can pay for the land to start with, which was the deposit, then the bank will pay for the rest. So that's the formula he taught us. So when I could do that, and bridging loan, so I have to learn about bridging loan and all that kinds of, and financing with the banks, those who buy the houses. So with that, learning that from ground zero was very helpful for me to understand what was everybody doing in the family business, what are the different departments doing and all that. So the appreciation came from having to dive in the nitty-gritty, negotiating with the bank. So I don't have credibility. Right? Okay, so in the sense that what he helped me with was the credibility part, right? So the credibility of him being there, I think he did sign a guarantor. Yeah. So that was the extent of help. But operationally, I did it. I had my own staff. I had my own staff. So I had about 8 people. Yeah. Doing sales and all that. And I met wonderful people that came in to help. So how I look for the people is the people who tried to sell me houses. Yeah. Okay.
You recruit them.
Yeah. So there was this lady, Shireen, who was, I loved the way she handled me and so I reversed lah. Actually, I recruited her for the family. But anyway, so there were other people that I met, that I put together lah, in a sense, bit and pieces that would believe in me. And I sold what I was trying to build and not, come join me in another property. And, it's not about the salary. I had a dream, and my dream was to build this development. Would you help me do this?
Wow, that's so good. Yeah, and I think this is also probably a very important part of your life, right? Because like you said, you're like, no family business, you want to stay away from it as possible. But then, your dad still comes in to help you a little bit, but not to the extent that you feel suffocated, which is where you probably felt at that point in time, right? And then you got that appreciation for understanding how the business works. But then I think further down the line, you decide to come back to the family business. Why do you come back? I mean, given that you've probably already built something of your own, you already were able to understand and, run your own thing. Why need to come back to the family business where perhaps similar, things were done quite similarly?
All right. So then when I did it was to fulfill my dream of building something that was meaningful. Then the second part was to prove myself to him that whatever I had in mind was meaningful, viable, and can be done. But the lessons learned, right? So I have to tell you this part, then I'll come back to the family business. So when I did 2 phases. The first phase was the ideal, the dream and all that. And what happened was adversity set in. The contractor who that I got to build this got into financial problem. So he couldn't finish. So that was when, to sue, not to sue. If I don't finish building, then late delivery charges, then financially I'll be gone already because I couldn't pay the bank. And then, of course, then I have to pay the land, the home buyer, compensation for not finishing the house. So the priority was to finish the houses. It was my dad who came and he basically shook me into reality, in the sense that you cannot not decide. You have to move on. So I wanted to sue the contractor. Injustice, cannot do this to me, Then it was such an issue trying to find a new person to come in. So he was the one who shook me, and he stood aside for 6 months because I was a basket case for 6 months as well. And then he said, okay, you have to decide. So he was the one who talked me into making a decision to save myself, right? But to save myself means losing money because I have to, somehow compensate him to go away and give me back my property to finish. So that took me to the near bankruptcy where I was non-performing loan already, right? So I had to talk to the banks, but we've been paying the banks. So the bank also, so reality is the bank also put the money in a different account versus the HDA account. So to them, it became a non-performing loan, but I was actually paying, right? But they extended me another loan to cover that hole. So it was all these gyrations that I had to learn. Wow, even banks can make that kind of mistake, but then I can overcome because they are also helping, right? So it is talking to people so I had a lot of good learning lessons, good experiences, which you cannot learn this in school, You have to experience it to go through it, okay? So with that in my pocket, in a sense, experience in the pocket, my season then was to prove myself. So after I finished, achieved, got the recognition, even at the World Sustainable Forum was recognized as one of the projects that we actually met the criteria. But I didn't feel fulfilled because the person I wanted to hear the most, good job, was my dad, but she didn't say anything. So in that sense, there was that gap of, okay, so the recognition of my relationship with my father is not good. Okay. Yes, I was still angry at him, but not so angry anymore, kind of thing. So as I grew older and with all the other experiences, walking with other fellow entrepreneurs, with family issues as well. So you learn that, hey, I'm not alone. Okay. So what do I want? And then I started walking with God and so what it means by redemption, forgiveness and all that. So I felt I needed, so the second season was, in order for me not to have regrets in my life, was to go back, serve him, get to know my father, what is in his heart. And I already accepted he always teaches this. He always teaches filial piety, humility, gratitude. He always drummed that into us, in that sense, since very early on. However, for me to embrace all of that, I have to go through my near bankruptcy, my own adversities. What does it mean to remain credible in the industry, right? So I have to humility. I have to accept what. So the serenity prayer is the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that is what he taught me. And when I knew I couldn't change him, I can change me. So the second season going back into the family was to do that, to try that, to walk it out, and to get to know that. And then the drive to prove myself, not there anymore. It's more to reconcile and to have peace, harmony, and feel that love that I think a daughter yearns for.
Yeah, I think there's a huge mindset shift from the first time you join the company,
Yes.
which is to prove yourself, prove your worth, and you just be this leader that change and disrupts everything. But I think when you come the second time, it's about reconciliation, about honoring also your family and honoring your father. Yeah, I think that mindset shift was so important that you perhaps required that learning outside of it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So
if I didn't that, I would have learned.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think when you step into the family business, even for the second time, perhaps there are still nuances in the sense that these are not your corporate partners. These are still your family members, right? Your brothers, your sisters, your dad, right? How were you able to reconcile, or how were you able to respect that family relationship, but also still keeping a working relationship within the family?
Even though it's not a family, I believe wherever I end up, I will try and do my best.
Yeah.
Okay. That means leave the place better than I found it, or the stewardship of that time. So coming back in is I wasn't like trying to find a place where I didn't mind whether I was his assistant or not involved in whatever he's dealing with. Just having lunches with him was already like bonus for me, bonus time, So serving him was a way to get that time. So putting aside my so-called desires, or what you call aspiration, my leadership aspiration, I can serve many places. I don't need to be the boss or the CEO or whatever it is. So the title didn't matter to me. It's more that what can I do? How can I contribute? I think all my life I was like that already. So being community minded and all that. So even though I had work, I would still be involved in community. And he is a community leader. So my mom was a community leader. So from both of them, it was already inbuilt in me. So when I came back was, how can I serve my family? Not how can I lead my family? Because he's still around. I still have to honor him. He's still the leader, right? And he's still the patriarch .
Correct.
So in a sense, he's still the boss. So how do I reconcile? So my identity, like you said, where I learned my lesson, and because I was walking with God, my identity was corrected. So my worth is from God, not my dad. My dad loves me, yes, but he will not fill me the way God will fill my heart. And with God's filling and his love, then I can love my dad or my family. Right? And being secondary or supporting the family was much easier to do the second round.
So what I'm hearing is that for you, it's no longer about chasing a title, it's no longer about chasing to prove your worth again, but just serving and even just doing your best in where you are. Right. But I think for a vast majority of people, whether they're in a family business or or even doing their own business, or even in corporate world, I mean, there's still the lingering sense that I still want to prove myself. I still want to be able to get a higher title because better pay, obviously, right? How am I able to reconcile that serving and also being able to, improve in my career and become a better person?
Okay, then what is success to you, lo? So the definition of success will definitely shape your motivation.
Yeah.
So my motivation was because if I'm grateful, so whatever I have is enough.
Yeah.
I don't need the fancy things or the expensive things. Comfort, shelter, all the Maslow theory lah.
Yeah.
Whatever I need, the food, health. So I already have that.
Yeah.
Right? So what is success look to me? So I've already reached where I was on the top 30 developers list.
Yeah.
So what more? How? So I don't have aspirations to run a public company.
Yeah.
As long as I have the capacity to impact the community I'm in. I don't need to start an NGO that saves children because I can support other people who are already doing it. You don't have to double up the resources to do
That's
that.
true.
So you're just strengthening other people. So I truly believe in lifting people up, supporting people, empowering people. So if I'm here to serve again, is to empower the system or to empower the family business, not to lead or not to boss or not to, the other kind of that, the other kind. I wanted to create a safe environment for the family to work, for the staff to be happy. So you're stewarding what God has given us to steward, right? So if we don't have to go and chase a public company to do it, but then if my dad wants to do it, I have to follow.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in a sense, this is a very, not to say that to pursue your own thing is very selfish, but this is a very, in a sense, selfless thing to say. Like that, I'm just going to support in wherever I'm placed. I'm just going to do my very best. And I think it's perhaps a value that we should see more so in people, right? Because people are always chasing the next big thing. People are saying, okay, I'm going to leave my company to start a new thing. And I think perhaps maybe that needs to be a mindset shift, like that we are perhaps in a place not to learn something so we can do our own thing, but to support where we are. Yeah.
I mean, yes, you want to do your own thing, but I had an opportunity to do that already.
Yeah.
Right? So entrepreneurs will try and make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Right? But then I also learned as intrapreneurs. In an organization, you can be an entrepreneur. Right? So you can also create, innovate wherever you are. Right? You don't have to be in power to do that. So it's learning how to influence. So last time, my first season, right? I didn't know how to influence. Right? So the second season is influence in the soft way, right? As long as people are taken care of, nobody is taking risks, unnecessary risks, and everybody feels safe. It's like during Chinese New Year, we had our staff lunches, and one of the exercises I did was, what are you grateful for this year, right? And so one of the staff, he actually said, he so happily announced, I actually managed to buy a house for my family, right? So seeing that they, where they started out maybe poorer, but now they can afford a home, and that means we nurture together, we grew up together, right? And they're able to do that. And he was so happy. He was so grateful. He was actually very grateful, and I could feel it. So when he announced it, when we did the exercise, what you're grateful for, I actually felt elated for him. And I felt grateful that he, that he had the capacity to do that. And what is surprising is this is Yazid, who has been our dispatch guy for a long time, right? So the expectation is you don't see very much growth because he didn't want to do anything more challenging. But when he was so happy that he actually, maybe because long serving, right? And we were fair with him in terms of his pay, right? So even though he was doing dispatch, he was compensated that he can reach a place where he buy a house. So that to me was achievement and success.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. So it's not about the company like having X amount of turnover or whatever it is, whether it's profitable or whether we are loss making, right? So of course we try to be profitable. It's not about how much money you make. It's how much good comes out of the company. So now we are doing Malay Reserve properties. So in the sense that we, the market is so big for Malay Reserve and yet people are afraid to do it. So when we tried to do it and it was viable, all the issues that all the property developers were saying, in terms of have to, the margins are lower because you have to sell lower. But you don't have to. The market is actually quite wide. And there's a lot of need. So if I can bless families out there and create a home for them, that is what a property developer should be, right? Not build the tallest this that . So it's building homes that people need and people can afford.
I think that's the mindset shift from pursuing performance to pursuing impact. Right? You can be very performance, but have little impact, right? Yeah, I think that's important. But I think, going to your second phase, it seems like, okay, things are much better. You're able to make an impact with where you are. But were there any setbacks in this second phase when you rejoined the family company?
I think more fear than anything. Fear whether I'll get hurt again or, all this not good enough, nobody not all this performance based that's it. But if we are grounded in our identity, that no matter what, we are still loved. So even at this age, father is still father. He will still love us as a father, and and so what is difficult is segregating family from work. So the tendency to talk about work at family dinners, that is the challenge. Where you bring work home and and then the mom will say, stop talking about work.
So how do you deal with that? Like I'm because I feel that it's very inevitable. Like whether there's any client text you, then you show your dad, this client again, annoying client.
Saturday I have to go look at properties, that kind of stuff.
So how do you reconcile that? Because I think sometimes, you don't want to come home to your family and then it's just like I'm still in the office because my boss is there, my peers are there because it's a family business. How do you reconcile that? And still build a family that, I can actually have family time together.
So it's consciousness. So we try not to, or I try not to, right? So if Dad does it, he leads the way, right? So so we now with devices, especially with the 3 generations and the younger ones, right? My nephew and nieces. So if we are the ones who have our devices open during mealtime, of course they will follow, right? So in that sense that it's like nudging lah. I say, hey, can we try no devices on the table, which is not easy lah. So we still try and try to keep to more family oriented or what we are doing kind of conversations versus work. So it's me, my brother, and my dad. So we are conscious about that. So I will try and refrain, right? So when they fall into it, I don't follow. So that's the only way I can kind of reconcile that or try and practice good practices.
I think to lead with example, like say, it's nudging and just not involving yourself in a conversation. Yeah.
And then if I can, so it's like inviting the family to have, so I get my nephews to ask conversation starters at the dining table or tell stories or play games. So that's how we do it. And then, of course, we try to have family vacations. But since COVID, very hard to get family vacations where all the siblings and grandchildren all come together with my dad. Those are more challenging.
So, yeah, Rosemary, you've led a lot of businesses across different industries. So plantations, development, and all these other things. What leadership philosophy or what leadership value do you hold on to despite being in these different industries?
Interesting. When you say leadership, I never saw myself as a leader kind of thing, right? But my friends would say, yeah. And I guess being a lifelong learning, thirst for learning, that as a leader, you don't know everything. And you need to work with people. Yeah. So recognizing that we don't know everything. So vulnerability, authenticity, and accountability. Right? So if we move on life, whatever we come across, whatever lands in our lap and our hands, so do we steward it well?
Yeah.
Right? And then do we treat the people well? You know, are we using people to make money or make money or develop people through the business? Yeah. Right? Or develop, the industry. So when I put in the lift, then everybody, kind of follows suit after that. And sustainability, now today is like a necessary thing to think about in order to compete. So maybe I was too early. So in the sense that the determination to do something new and innovate, the gumption and the courage to do that, that's one. So not fearing failure. That means you try no matter what. Because my grandma was the one who taught me that value. You always taste something once, try something once. If you don't like it, you can drop it.
Yeah, that's true.
So in the sense that when opportunity comes, I don't shy away from it. Or I go and look for it or find it. If, let's say, the resource is not here, then go overseas and find out what does it look like, So you go for trade shows. That's where I learned a lot. My mom used to take me to all the handicap, trade shows where, accessibility, grab bars, making a bathroom accessible to a wheelchair user or elder, person who is physically challenged, right? All those things I learned because I follow her. Yeah. Right? So that thirst for learning, for whatever you want to create is definitely there. So now AI, right? So so I'm shying away from AI. Then I keep getting on the Facebook and say, okay, people older than 40, 50, you must learn AI in order to... So it's like, so do I want to dwell in or go into that? So now I'm trying to research into... my dad wants to do food security. But I'm more interested in elder care or the retirement because there's an aging community. Correct. There is a huge need out there. So is there something that as a property developer we can do? Because we're in plantation, okay, let's look at food security. Correct. And what else can we grow? Or So one thing is the generating income, but in the industry we're in, what other things we can learn? What other things we can learn that will improve our society and our community?
Yeah, but I think it's so important that you're willing to take that risk, right? Because if you didn't take the risk, you wouldn't be where you are right now. If you didn't take the risk and leave the family business to start something new, and you weren't willing to learn, I mean, you didn't know everything, right? And that's the truth. You needed help, guidance, and you even had great support from the team, people around you. And I think it's so important that great leaders need to understand that they don't know everything because that's the reality. If you know everything, then go do everything on your own. But that's the truth. You can't do everything on your own. You need people to support you. Yes. Yeah.
You need a whole village to raise a child, definitely. I learned that I need the bankers. Oh my goodness, I can't do anything without bankers. But even especially in development, you learn about authorities, the DBKL, there's City Hall who takes care of all the other things. So it's not just businesses. So you need government,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Then now I'm very much into dermal organ, which is organ donation, right? Then there's this whole medical field who's trying to forward this and what is transplantation and all that. So I had to learn all that thing because I was there was a what you call a spark, right? A spark, something I saw on video, and I wanted to research into it, and because there is a need in Malaysia, so I'm trying to help the National Transplant Resource Centre to forward more pledges for organs.
That's good.
On My Sejahtera, you know.
And I think talking about learning, right? I mean, you also have to make decisions when it comes to business, right? As much as you can learn, there still needs to be high-level decisions that you make. How do you stay grounded? But also, when you've got conflicting opinions, when we talk about family businesses, how do you deal with that and still stay grounded in making these high-level decisions?
Okay, it's voice. Basically, have the courage to speak up. In the sense that, if I don't agree, I'll say it. And if it's accepted or not accepted, that's where I learn. Previously, I would get angry, right? Now is to, I've already did my bit by putting my opinion down or voicing it out instead of keeping quiet and not say anything. So when you see injustice, right, normally it's like, don't get involved because cannot do anything about it. So if you see a child or somebody who needs help, you help on the street, right? So in the same sense that if we don't want the family to fall into any potholes, is to warn them of the potholes, right? But if they still want to walk into the pothole, we already tried in that sense. So voicing out and yet know our place.
And I think, talking about stepping into the role of leadership, what advice do you have for people stepping into family businesses, or perhaps even especially like daughters or young women wanting to come into a family business where perhaps maybe not for your family, but for some families where people view their daughters as, the siu don't let her do her own thing kind of thing. What advice do you have for these people?
It is a privilege to have opportunity where if resources are given to you, utilize them well. So it's not to waste it, to prove a point or to... I don't know, sometimes when I see young people today, is they are chasing something that is very influenced by, what is in or what is... it's like this season where you own a restaurant is a cool thing, right? So you're going to open a restaurant, but you don't know anything about a restaurant, right? Or be a partner in something that is cool. So when you have enough resources to try something risky, then you can go ahead and try. But be responsible in a sense that if something goes wrong, I admit I fail. I admit I need help. But if you're wasting resources away, that's the hurt. I would say that's where the parents feel hurtful or not responsible. Not responsible not only to your family or to the company, but as a human. I mean, that's where the child in us. So being in the family is to know that it is a privilege. It is a privilege, and it should be treated with honor. The opportunity should be treasured. That wow, I'm getting this opportunity to try these things out, or I'm getting an opportunity to find myself in the family business. Or even when you walk to a corporate office and you got the position you wanted, right? And you got a opportunity to make a mark at that job. But when the values become clouded and not the same and you're conflicted all inside, that's where you have... when it happened to me, then I had to sit is this something acceptable to me or not? So when it was not acceptable to me and I walked away, So I had to learn the lessons of whatever that brought me, right?
Yeah.
And then the question is, do I treasure those lessons? Or am I, what do you call, where I resent all that?
Yeah.
Oh, why did a bad thing happen to me? Why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
So instead of the negativity, is look at it positively.
Yeah, I think that the lens in which you view the thing must be different. It cannot be everything is why is my life so hard? But instead, okay, I've got the opportunity to learn from this mistake. Then I'm going to learn from that mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's a gem. So for me, every lesson was a gem.
That's so good. Yeah, and I think as we close, what's perhaps one thing you want people to take away from this conversation?
I think it was unusually Jim Carrey's quote when he did this graduation speech. And he says, do you approach life with fear or life with love? So you move forward with love or you fear everything, right? So if the motivation is to love means impact, love means good for humanity, love means responsibility, love means that gratitude, love means that honoring, filial piety, whatever it is. So what does love look like to you? What is the motivation? Yeah. So if love is all of that, then go ahead and pursue it. Yeah. But if you pursue life with fear, then sayang lo.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can say that, right?
Yeah.
It's like such a waste.
Yeah.
A waste of not unleashing your potential that God has given us. Yeah. So maximize that potential. Try things you fear. Try things that you're uncomfortable with. And then you learn something from that. If I can use the illustration of a thermostat or a thermometer. So if you're a thermometer, then you tell temperature lah, whether it's hot or cold, whatever. But in terms of taking the opportunity for life with courage, is be the thermostat. That means you're creating the environment for other people. So wherever we go, where we end up, or businesses or resources, even home, you can create the atmosphere. Is it a safe place to work? Is it a safe place for the kids to grow up? Is it a safe place for this interview? Right? So you created a safe space for me, right? And then I can speak, right? So being a thermostat is somebody who will utilize whatever resources to create a positive environment for our growth. That means to impact lives. So you will grow, I will grow. Because you grow, the garden flourishes and the plantation will be fruitful.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rosemary. So yeah, thank you so much, Rosemary, for sharing with us your insights and wisdom. There's truly a lot that we can learn from.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to yet another episode of the Accomplished Impact Podcast. We release episodes bi-weekly on Tuesdays at 6 a.m. If you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe as we are on Spotify as well as YouTube. You can follow us on our social media at accomplished.asia, on Instagram and TikTok, where we post snippets of this podcast. If you want to find out more about the Accomplished community and how you can be a part of it, drop us a DM on our socials or email us at hello@accomplished.asia. We'll see you in the next one.